Marianne, could you talk a little bit about whether we know of any grants or any funding sources that we're not making use of today? This idea that we could have connectivity where it's available, but maybe it's too expensive, subsidized in some way with existing funding streams, or we could get more laptops out. Is that, have you done any research to determine whether we're missing opportunities?
Well, the one that keeps popping up just because it's current is the ARP. That's EDA's ARP program, and they have 6 grants out now for various topics. The one, and I'm looking at Mike here to keep me honest because he also probably is tracking this as well, but I believe that the one of the 6 that's most relevant as it relates to broadband would be the EAA grant, which is the Economic Assistance something A. And that one does have broadband built into it. There's bigger challenge grants, which I don't think that we have the time because the first round for that is October 19th, and I think it's too highly a competitive grant. There are other grants out of the 6. There's one on tourism and there's one on job challenge. The job challenge one isn't going to come out until January, but I think it's worthwhile for us to look at that for a workforce development issue. Those are the ones that I know of. If you're talking, Ted, specifically about like getting more laptops in or getting more technology, or I'm curious on the technical assistance for digital literacy. I saw it came up a couple of times, Jeff, in your slides. That is something that's, I think, worthy of us pursuing, either maybe embedded in some grants. Remember, West is only funded by SBA to help businesses with that knowledge. We can't go in and help the residency with that knowledge. I mean, people can attend a webinar, but that's not our, so that's a different level of technical assistance. So, so that's what I know of right now, specifically as it's related to technology. Does that help?
It does. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
yeah.
It's one of the areas that excites me if we're missing existing opportunities.
I think the EAA is worth looking into, but it would require, the county to work together and on a lot of different areas, because I think it's a more broader, and we have to do something soon.
And as Marianne said, there are digital literacy grant opportunities from a number of agencies that can be pursued. And Marianne informed me now about the challenges of West's participation in those. So we need to rethink.
Yeah, so we could do that work. That's not a problem. It's just that we're not set up to do it. I mean, we do it for a different audience, is what I'm saying. But we have our whole ABC digital literacy program that could easily be adapted for teaching in senior centers, teaching in, partnering with office education, doing other things.
And the requirement is that the people have a local business license. Is that how they would become eligible?
You mean for the ones that we teach at West?
Yeah.
Well, they sign up as a client, and when they sign up as a client, we get tapped. So they have like business license is one. There's usually 2 or 3 different criteria points that we put them into the system.
Thanks. Mike has his hand up. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, what we're doing in Sonoma County, just as to offer this up for conversation, is the fact that with the upcoming ARPA funding, we understand that we're going to be getting about $75 million in Sonoma County in ARPA funds. And the county is undertaking the development of a community workforce group that will be determining the distribution of funding, of how best that ARPA funding can be distributed to the community. So we're, as was mentioned in our previous consortium meeting, It's a two-pronged effort. We want to be sure that we're lobbying for broadband with the work group, so that we're getting some money out of that ARPA fund for broadband, number one. And number two, there was another pot of money through ARPA that Jeff, you might remember what that other second pot was, but Ethan basically said we need to apply for and work with that committee on as a two-pronged approach to maximize the potential funding from ARPA for broadband.
Which grants are you referring to when you say the ARPA grants, Mike, for? So you're saying this is a supplement to the 75 million that's going to come from the state?
From the feds.
Wait, so you're getting 75 million for broadband from the
No,
feds?
not for broadband, for everything. But we want to be sure that broadband funds, broadband can be utilized as part of the ARPA distribution. So what we're saying is, out of that basket of funds that is coming to Sonoma County, the 75 million, we want to be sure that we're getting some money allocated to broadband.
And in Mendocino County, it's about 16 million over 2 years. And broadband is one of the, I think, 4 categories that you can use that money for.
That is correct.
This is Darcy. Yeah, it's 16.8 million over 2 years, and the money has to be obligated by 2024 and spent by 2026 here in Mendocino. So yes, there is an earmark in there for broadband and broadband infrastructure. Right now, a good portion of it is going in our county to COVID response, but there is going to be available if that's what the board chooses to do.
And would that broadband money include digital literacy, or is it for connectivity, or is there?
It's more infrastructure based. Let me pull it out.
And Sonoma's 75.
But it's really 95, it's a total of 95, and 20 million is being devoted to COVID right off the top. So then we've got 75 to distribute. And that's why we have the community workforce committee task force that's going to be making recommendations to our board of supervisors as to how best to distribute the funds. We're working very hard on equity issues here in Sonoma County, as you are too up in Mendocino County. So the workforce group is going to have a wide-ranging membership, if you will, representing tribes, representing impacted population subsets, and so forth. So it's going to be just a great group to help to make the recommendations to our board of supervisors on how best to distribute the funding.
Yeah, it's under infrastructure, which is one of the main categories under ARPA, and then it's broadband last mile projects and broadband other projects. Others can be broad, and the final rules, we're still waiting on the final rules for some of the clarification. And I'm sorry, I know there's probably more you want to hear about this, but I have to jump on a drought call. So talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy. Well, it's interesting. I mean, again, the small funds that we have to do the connectivity campaign, I think will launch an interest around the county for being a vocal advocate on the need for this. And the goal is indeed to help support the county and municipalities in their efforts to get, funds and connectivity robust connectivity across the county. And whether it's the wireless or broadband or middle mile is all, part of the education. What I think, the bigger picture of this, of course, is having a workforce that is truly technologically savvy and using technology to, advance commerce and business and government and, all sorts of entities. And we really need a more highly educated workforce in that area. So that's just something else to be considering, is how that workforce ties back directly into economic development.
Thank you.
Just one quick addendum to the conversation. We're in Sonoma County. We're also working with an additional layer of communications in the event of widespread PSPS and other natural disasters. We're looking at the GMRS radio network, and we're utilizing some county TOT funding to help impacted societies groups that cannot afford the basic radios, so walkie-talkie type radios, to fund them. We've established repeaters out here, and our district is very much like Supervisor Williams' district. We're remote. We've got lots of big, tall trees and deep valleys and scattered population. And when the lights go out and the other communications go out, such as cell service, where cell service is available, and our phone service goes down due to Frontier's lack of really a decent backup system, we have to rely upon another layer of safety. And that's why GMRS, which is connected with our, connects local neighborhoods, and then we can connect with ham providers that then in turn can communicate with the county to provide assistance if necessary. So that's just one other layer that we have to look at here in Tier 3 high fire threat areas.
And you're using TOT funds to help support
We're
that.
using some TOT funds. We've also solicited contributions from nonprofits, from community clubs in the various communities that are not incorporated. Supervisor Hopkins has come forth with some TOT funding out of her discretionary funds. The county TPW department had some leftover money from PG&E that they invested in supplying and funding repeaters for us. So it's a many-pronged effort, but we're making it work, and we're having weekly net meetings with people in the communities. So when you talk about increasing the level of technical awareness with the workforce, we're also increasing the technical awareness of the homemakers and people that live in rural communities as well, so that they're conversant and can communicate via radio when necessary.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know if any of the supervisors have any comments on that, but I think that's an interesting approach, and especially in a rural area like Mike is talking about. And I know the area, Sonoma, and we've talked about that even on the SPED board, the importance of that. But it's interesting using different types of funding to make sure that we have that education and connection. Might be something for consideration.
We just reached out in our local community. We raised $16,000 in Cazadero from the community. And the community bought it wholeheartedly after last year's 9 days with no electricity, no phone service, and we do not have cell service here. And we needed to be able to communicate in times of emergency for first responders and what have you. So the community bought into it and basically self-funded it.
And was it specifically for devices? Was it specifically for that the community supported?
For handheld devices, as well as for repeaters and backup systems for our repeaters, solar battery backups.
Well, what I found interesting was that Supervisor Hopkins had a discretionary budget that she could dedicate to that. So
Yeah, that's
I wish we had the same.
Sonoma County set up a little bit differently, I think, where the supervisors do have some discretionary funds. It's not very much, but they do have a few dollars.